Hello everyone, in this module we study Chapter 10, Capital Budgeting Decision Methods. The learning objectives include explain the capital budgeting process, calculate the payback period, net present value, internal rate of return, and modify the internal rate of return for a proposed capital budgeting project. Described capital rationing and how firms decide which projects to select. Measure the risk of a capital budgeted project. Explain risk-adjusted discount rates. The capital budgeting process. Capital budgeting is the process of evaluating proposed investment projects for a firm. Managers must determine which projects are acceptable and must rank mutually exclusive projects by order of desirability to the firm. The accept or reject decision. 4 methods. Payback period. The years to recoup the initial investment. Net present value, change in value of firm if a project is undertaken. Internal rate of return, projected percent rate of return project will earn. Modified internal rate of return. Capital budgeting method. Consider project A and B that have the following expected cash flows. What is the payback period? We can calculate the payback period by using the future cash flow subtract the initial investment until you get the cumulative cash flow positive. So we can have the payback period for project A is 2.9 years. What is the payback for project B? The similar method, we can get a payback for project B is 3.44 years. Accept a project if payback is less than the company's predetermined maximum. If company has determined that it requires payback in 3 years or less, then you would accept project A and reject project B. Net present value is the present value of all costs and benefits measured in terms of incremental cash flows of a project. The concept is similar to discounted cash flow method for valuing securities, but subtract of the cost of projects. Net present value is the present value of inflows minus initial investment. So what is the net present value for project B? So we can see net present value is 1,154, which is greater than 0. So accept a project if the net present value is greater than or equal to 0. For example, net present value for project A is $1,095 is greater than 0, accept. Net present value for project B is 1,154 greater than 0, accept. If projects are independent, accept both projects. If projects are mutually exclusive, accept a project with a higher net present value. Internal rate of return. IRR is the discount rate that forces the net present value to equal 0. It's the rate of return on the project given its initial investment and future cash flows. The IRR is the rate earned only if all cash flows are reinvested at the IRR rate. IRR for project A is 14.96% and the IRR for project B is 13.5%. Accept the project if the IRR is greater than or equal to the required rate of return. Reject the project if IRR is less than the required rate of return. Modified internal rate of return. This is the discount rate which causes the project's present value of the outflows to equal the project's terminal value of the inflows. Assume cash inflows are reinvested at K, the cost of capital. Modified internal rate of return avoids the problem of multiple internal rate returns. The MIRR for project B is 30.05%. Net present value profile. Graph the net present value of the project with different required rate. Risk in capital budgeting. Project risk needs to be considered in comparing projects with different levels of risk. The discount rate can be adjusted for risk when net present value is used to evaluate projects. The hurdle rate can be adjusted when IRR is used to evaluate projects. So the cross point, we have the crossover rate. There is a ranking conflict between net present value and IRR to the left of the crossover point. What is capital rationing? Capital rationing is the practice of placing a dollar limit on the total size of the capital budget. Comparing risky projects using risk-adjusted discount rates. Firms often compensate for risk by adjusting the discount rate used to calculate net present value. Higher risk use a higher discount rate. Lower risk use a lower discount rate. The risk-adjusted discount rate can also be used as a risk-adjusted hurdle rate for IRR comparisons. Non-simple projects. Non-simple projects have one or more negative future cash flows after initial investment. Multiple IRRs. If a project has more than one IRR, use the net present value method for project accept or reject decisions.